I'm Alex Ratcliffe from Board Game Co. and today I'm reviewing Chronicles of Avel from Rebel Studio. Chronicles of Avel is a 1 to 4 player game in which you are going to be exploring your kingdom and trying to level up your characters so that you are prepared for the final big bad boss that's going to be marching down towards you when the game comes to its epic conclusion. Or conclusion, depends on it. Chronicles of Avel is a 1 to 4 player game in which players are going to be wandering around the kingdom, fighting off baddies, upgrading and leveling up their characters as they prepare for the final showdown in which all the monsters are going to start marching towards the castle and ultimately try to bring impending doom or all that kind of thing. The game basically has a timer on it. It has this clock over here that's going to be slowly moving around the board until eventually get to the end, at which point this meteor will flip, things will spawn, and all the monsters on the board and all the monsters on newly revealed tiles will start marching towards you, and if you haven't done the necessary prep work along the way, you will be ill-equipped to deal with those monsters. And so the game is a game of trying to explore the kingdom, to take down monsters, to lock down certain spawning points so nothing else can spawn, to build walls for the castle, to upgrade your characters and level up, to set traps in motion. You're basically trying to do the legwork, because if you wait too long and if you don't do that legwork, you will die. And so in the game, every single round, the players are going to have two actions. You're going to have this little round marker that's moving around over here. Things will be happening along the track as you go. You'll be regaining health points, spawning more monsters, but you're basically taking two actions a turn. And the most common actions, the most common three actions you're going to be taking every single turn is you're going to be wandering, moving from location to location. That's one action. So for example, I can go ahead over here. You can fight with the various monsters, or you can move and let's say activate different locations. So you're fighting monsters, you're activating locations, and you're simply moving around the board with your two actions a turn. When you fight monsters, what you're going to do is, let's take this character over here. This is the blue character. We have this blue mat. Let's put yellow back here. And so blue is going to go ahead and fight against one of these monsters. And unfortunately, these are terrible monsters. You know what? We're going to head over here and fight these monsters. No, you know what? No, I take it back. We're going to go here. We're going to fight this monster. Let's watch how this plays out. So we're going to choose this monster to fight against, which means we're going to roll our dice. And our dice right now are 2 green dice. That's all we have against the monster because that's what's printed on our player board. We also have this mace over here, which will let us re-roll purple dice, black dice. It looks like purple dice. Let's re-roll a purple die. Sorry, the coloring's not the best over here. But you're going to re-roll a purple die. And to that end, we're fighting off against this monster over here. Ooh, which one do we want more? You know what, we're going to fight this monster instead. We're going to be fighting 2 purple dice, and we're going to be fighting 2 black dice. That's what it shows on the monster, and you have up to 3 rounds of combat. So we're going to go ahead and fight over here, and we just did nothing useful. They have 2 defense. We have a broken sword, so we did nothing in that first round of combat. I rolled defensively, they rolled defensively. Their broken sword over here negates our sword attacks, so nothing happened. So we're going to go to the second round of combat. They didn't do damage to us. We didn't do damage to them. We only have 3 rounds of combat, though. We're going to roll again, and now they did 3 degrees of hit to us. Wow, that's not good at all. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use this one over here to re-roll this black die, hoping for the best. Nope, we got another one over there. No, that's wrong die. I'm allowed to roll purple. Let's re-roll purple. That's still a hit. So they have 3 hits against our 1 shield. We just took 2 damage. That's not the best. We have 1 more round of combat. Let's hope we can actually take them out. Let's hope. This is not looking good for us. And look at that, we actually managed to get it done. We got 2 hits against it. It got 1 hit against us. We're going to lose another health, but we did take it down. And as a reward, because it has 2 health, we have our 5 health over here. And as a reward, we get to flip an item, which is awesome because now I'm going to go to flip this item, and now I'm going to be rolling a red die in combat. You're going to have 3 different items. You have a weapon, you have a shield, and you have a helmet, and you also have potions that will go into your backpack that you can use to augment your dice for the course of combat. But now I roll extra dice throughout combat, which makes me that much stronger next turn, which is good because I'm down to 2 health. Speaking of which, the next action you can take is resting, regaining health along the way. So, past that, we're done with our turn over here. We're going to have yellow go. Yellow's going to go ahead and move over here. Go engage in a similar degree of combat. You can re-roll greens. That's going to be helpful. That's chill. Let's just re-roll greens. We're going to attack. We're going to have these situations. Next roll of combat. We're going to roll. And we got this over here. Perfect. We got that to attack, boom. So they get 1 attack against us. We get 1 defense against them. I think I'll just take that hit and not worry about it. And so right now we got 1 damage against this one. We're going to go to the second round of combat and roll. And we got 1 hit against it. We're good to go. This guy's dead and we're gone. We'll get a coin, which will go into our backpack, and we'll draw an item from the bag. So those are the 2 creatures we killed over there. We're going to reach into the bag, but we have 5 seconds because you can feel things. I already have a shield, so I want to get my hands on a weapon. So I'm going to look for something that's a little bit more elongated, which may be a potion, but I only have 5 seconds. I'm going to reach in. We get out. That looks like potion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. We got an axe. I may not count it correctly. You have other players counting as you go. But we have an axe over here, which is going to give us an extra sword against blue monsters specifically. So this monster over here is a blue monster. We would have an extra attack against that monster, although you can only use those effects once per combat, which is why you're going to use this to mark that you've done it. You've just seen a round of combat. A full round of the game, I should say. We're going to advance this time track over here, And unfortunately, we're going to respawn monsters. Which means right about now you might be thinking to yourself, why do I need to respawn monsters? What was the point of fighting them if we're just going to respawn monsters all the time? And the answer is that you're going to fight them because of the fact that you're going to be leveling up your character. You're going to be getting new items, gathering gold, which you can spend in the locations. You're going to be getting upgrading your items so you're stronger as you go through it. Although you could just avoid them right now. Right now we have these monsters, they're not doing anything to us, which means in the next round of combat, maybe I'm going to go ahead and wander over here, flip this tile, see what's on the board, and over here we can spend 3 gold to go ahead and place a seal on a monster location. Placing a seal will stop a monster from spawning, which means they'll stop spawning, which means we have less opportunities to upgrade and fight through it, but also as the board continues to progress, we'll have too many monsters spawning, and stopping monster spawning is not a bad thing, specifically because there are some sections of the board that have larger monster spawns that are a bit more work to deal with. But right now, we spawn this area over here. I can't do much over there. Maybe I'll go ahead and rest, get some health back over here, and then we'll go to the other person. Maybe we'll take down that person. We do have more weapons. It's not a blue character. You know what? We're going to wander over here, and we're also going to start exploring, seeing what we find over here. And look at that. We just found our first large monster. And then we're going to go ahead and spawn the large monster. This guy over here is going to take away some of our dice at the beginning of the combat, so we won't be able to roll those dice. They have stronger effects against us. It will give us 2 items. It has 3 health and rolls a bunch of dice, but the biggest effect is that it negates a whole bunch of our dice, which means we're just rolling less against it, which isn't that fun to go through it. You're going to continue to the next round. Next round, we're just taking 2 actions. Again, we didn't take an action. We can wander again, because I'm not fighting that guy. I would lose so badly. I'd be rolling 1. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and fight. Let's go ahead and fight, because right now, this guy only removes advanced dice, and we don't have advanced dice. So for our second action, we're going to once again wade into a round of combat, getting a purple, rolling these, and hoping for the best. Let's see what we got over here. We rolled that. That's not the best. They negate 1 attack and deal 1 damage to us. We can deal with that. You know what? Honestly, I'm going to use my shield over here to re-roll my green dice over here. So I'm going to re-roll green dice. And we got 2 swords over there. Boom. He's down to 1 health left. We might be able to do this after all. We're going to roll again. We got sword, and it did 3 damage to us and negated a sword, which means, unfortunately, we will die right now because we don't have any health left. So it's going to deal 3 damage to us, but we do kill it along the way and gather some items first. So we at least get something out of it. We will lose our gold, though. Let's reach in and find a helmet over here. Helmet. We got a helmet. We got a helmet that's going to go down over here. Put that down there. And this time we want a potion. Let's get a thing that's a potion-shaped-ish. This is probably potion-shaped. Nope, that's another sword, which we may be able to give it to one of our teammates if we want, or alternatively sell it. This location lets us buy or sell items from the bank. That's basically how you play through the game. You're going to continue going through this process of exploring the map, of taking 2 actions per turn, of wandering around to different locations. As we go to different locations, you're going to have different types of effects that pop up. You're going to have portals where you can teleport, like right here. This is a portal where you can teleport from here to here. We also have spots where you can spend an action to use that action tile and generate 2 money. Over here, you're going to have options to gather things from the bag and or upgrade. Over here, you have more large monsters spawning. Over here, we have another portal location with more spawning. Over here, we have the opportunity to build castle walls, which means over here, this is probably the trap location. This is the upgrade location over here. And then lastly, that means down this spot over here, we have the opportunity to build traps over here, where you can make 3, 5, or 7 and put the requisite trap onto the board. You're going to be taking these actions as monsters continue to respawn. As you move to the next spot, you'll slowly regain health, although if you get unconscious, you fully regain health as well, but with a penalty. You're moving around, spawning monsters, gaining health as you go, until eventually you hit the end where you start having to be locked in, where you start no longer being able to put out gates to cover the various portals on the board, no longer being able to put down traps, and finally no longer being able to put out walls. And that is when you get to the end, and the end game is going to trigger. You're going to go ahead and flip this meteor tile, of which there are 3 difficulties, level 1, 2, and 3 as far as how difficult the game is. You're going to go flip it over. It's going to give you additional monster spawns to be mindful of depending on your player count, as well as where you're going to put down those monsters on the board. You're rolling dice for each monster. So for example, you're going to go ahead and roll dice and say, oh, that monster goes on to the trap location. So we're going to grab a monster over here and put it down to this location over here. You're going to additionally at that point have all the remaining monsters on the board, plus any monsters you spawn, plus this big guy over here, are all going to start marching towards the capital in Chronicles of Avel. Every single round, you're going to progress through a normal sequence where you have 2 actions, but at the end of each turn, the monsters move 1 step closer to the capital. If they ever breach the walls of the capital, you lose. You don't want that to happen. And to that end, you have a few tools at your disposal. You have, of course, the killing of the monsters. Killing of the monsters is always a good way to get rid of the scary monsters. You also have these traps you could have built, and traps can go on the board in different ways. They'll go ahead, traps actually only affect the big guy over here, but you have traps you can put on the board so that as the big guy wanders into them, he has to roll dice and take damage to his damage, this health counter that will be set based on player count, and so that's going to be one of the tools you have at your disposal. You have these various moon gates that will have slowed down spawning to have less spawning as the monsters go through the game. And then lastly, you'll have walls. When you build walls, every time a monster would move move into the castle, you can instead remove a wall, which doesn't stop the monster, but it does give you time to get closer to it, so this monster would move, instead it knocks the wall down, and next turn you walk over and you're able to remove it from the board entirely and protect Avel, as I assume it's Avel, I assume the capital is called Avel, protect Avel from its defeat. Meanwhile, this big guy over here is rolling all the negative dice, both black dice and the purple dice, and also has a ton more health depending on the player count, and you have to eventually tackle him and take him down, trying to survive against combat against him while you protect the city in Chronicles of Avel. That is how you play the game, which means it's time for ease of play. Overall, this is an easy game to get up and running. This is designed, at least it feels designed, to be family plus, as far as, you know, a very family-friendly gateway kind of dungeon crawler-ish style game. A little bit of tower defense elements as you have the enemies moving towards you, but overall, it's a pretty simple game to get up and running. Very easy game to get people to teach through the core mechanics of what you're doing. You have 2 actions a turn, there's only a few actions, and then past that there's just the locations on the board and how you deal with combat, rolling dice across 3 rounds of iterative combat, at which you'll either defeat the monster or be defeated, or sometimes neither. Sometimes you have a round of combat where you're like, I only did a wound to him and he did a wound to me, and that's all we got done in this entire round of combat. As far as what I like, don't like, and can see I was not liking, there's a few things I like in this, there's a bunch of things I like in this game, but starting off with the charm of building up your own character. Something you have in this game is you have character sheets, and you literally can draw your character in the game as you start. You can create a crest, you can have a name, you can literally draw through them, make them your own character as you go through it, although there is the downside that as you start to upgrade your character, you'll see that most of your drawings have been covered up with all the fun little equipment you've been gathering along the way, as well as boots, by the way. If you have the expansion, you can also have some extra boots as well that you can throw onto your characters, and there's just general charm to the overall aesthetic of the game to begin with. And then additionally, the charm continues in the sense of how accessible the game is, the art compelling. Overall, this gives you a very light and friendly and inviting aesthetic to dive into a dungeon crawler that is very family friendly and a good degree of weight class as far as how difficult the game is, how much decision space there is. This is well done as far as being a game that's designed towards that core demographic of being, you know, again, gateway plus, so giving you a little bit more to dive into, enough decisions to actually have some weight or meaning to what you're doing, while not being so overwhelming that it's a lot to take on and manage. And the game paces pretty well. The game doesn't overstay its welcome. You can knock it out in 30 to 45 minutes, depending on player count, depending on how fast players are moving, and you're going to be running around the board, taking actions, slaying things, upgrading, and that the pacing of what the game does isn't, there's not so much going on to keep you invested for an hour and a half, which is a good thing. It doesn't last for an hour and a half. It has that escalation. You grab a few items, you level up your character, and then before you know it, you have this great giant guy walking towards the capital that you're trying to take out before you rinse and repeat a week later with your kids, with your friends, with whoever you're playing with in this game. Additionally, there's upgrading in the game throughout the course of the game. You're going to be walking out with a basic character who starts with 1 item, and then throughout the course of the game, you are drawing items from this bag, trying to feel around as you can to get those right items, which has fun moments, by the way. We didn't even see potions. I still not see potions over here. Let's get a potion. Nope, not a potion, not a potion, not a potion. This might be a potion over here-ish. Let me grab something. This is not a potion, that's a helmet. Let's grab a potion, a potion. This is a potion, here we go. This potion over here will heal you over here. You also have potions that add dice to combat, so you might have one of these guys over here that adds some extra dice to your combat for the extent of combat. And gathering items and upgrading your character is a part of the fun of the game, but not just the character, but also the city around you. Wandering around, you know, placing down traps, placing down portals to block, those moon things to block the portals, placing down walls, all the degrees of upgrading so that you can ultimately survive the onslaught. The entire game cycle and flow is about killing guys to get stuff so that you can upgrade yourself and upgrade the city to prepare yourself for that inevitable onslaught at the end of the game. As far as what I don't like in the game, it doesn't feel like there's a ton of variety to the gameplay. And I touched upon this already with the fact that the game doesn't overstay its welcome, it's not too long, but it has to not overstay its welcome because it's not a variety. You're wandering around, you basically move and attack, move and attack, move and attack is the core gameplay cycle that you're going to find yourself in for those first rounds of combat until eventually you trigger endgame. Here and there you'll be able to spend money to get those extra upgrades or defense or things towards your tableau, but the ultimate core cycle is move and attack, and there's not a ton of variety to the items you get, meaning when you pull items from the bag, they don't get better, they're just different. And so your main puzzle is about trying to gather different items so that you don't have 2 helmets, 2 swords, whatever, and then upgrading the ones you have. But then after that, it's kind of this hodgepodge. There's no sense of adventure when you pull something from a bag, contrary to other dungeon crawlers where you're like, ooh, I got a better sword. There isn't a better sword, there's just a different sword. And if you already upgraded your last sword, then that different sword is meaningless. And so the item puzzle, it's only rewarding for a few turns, because after that, you ideally have your kit and your prep to go, and you're not really going to be switching things around that much as you go through it. And so there's only a limited degree of how much fun it is to explore how well you can grow your character. It's very procedural in what it does, and again, it's not better, it's just different as you go through it. And then lastly, I'll say that the game does have a bit of a initial off-putting aspect to it as you slaughter monsters that then immediately respawn. But the problem is, if the monsters aren't slaughtered, they don't respawn. Meaning when you're playing a game in which you're like, oh my gosh, things are spawning every 2 rounds, there's that sense of pressure. You have to kill things because otherwise you're going to be overwhelmed with enemies. But in Chronicles of Avel, you don't have that. If you don't kill the thing, it won't respawn. If you do kill the thing, it will respawn. And so it's almost that sense of, well, why am I doing this? And the answer is you need resources. You kill things to get resources, to get items, so that you can level up the city. But it feels a little bit like it feels a little bit, not counterintuitive, but almost like you're not having an impact. You're like, I killed you, and now you respawn. I killed you, and now you respawn. Even though that arc is essential to the gameplay, the fact that the respawning only happens when you kill kind of makes it feel a little bit like you're not necessarily doing anything, even though you actually are. As far as I can see others not liking the game, first of all, definitely on the lighter side. This is definitely a lighter game. If you're looking for a game that gives you a medium amount of decision space, this is not it. This is a family dungeon crawler. I think it's dungeon crawler adjacent as far as what it's doing, but it's definitely family weight as far as what it's doing, or gateway weight. It's accessible, it gives you decision space, it gives you the upgrading of tableau, it gives you those sense of, things in the game, but it doesn't do so with a ton of decision space built in, so understand that this is either a game for you or it's not a game for you. It is a lighter game. And then secondly, I'll say that there's a degree of all or nothing to the gameplay. You kind of go through the whole adventure and there's no threat, there's no losing along the way. You go through the game, you level up your character, you get to the end, and then either this big bad marches into the capital or he doesn't, and so it's kind of an all or nothing. It's not like you can lose in the first half of the game. You can't. The first half of the game is just you doing stuff. So you keep playing, you keep playing, you keep playing, you get to the end, and then you win or lose, which may or may not be your jam. As far as final thoughts on Chronicles of Avel, I enjoyed this game with the caveat that you have to know the target audience for this game. My initial instincts for Chronicles of Avel is I was expecting something that was Catacombs of Karak Plus or Cora Quest Plus. I was expecting something that was a dungeon crawler that was family weight and accessible, but with a bit more weight than some of the other dungeon crawlers I've played in that genre of family weight and accessible. And I don't think I got that from Chronicles of Avel. I think I got that same weight, a weight that I don't have a problem with it, but it's just a question of knowing your audience. I thought this would be something that bridges that gap between something I could play with my kids, but also something I would play with my friends, which isn't what it is for me. To me, this is something I would play with my kids. That's all it is. I will play this with my kids. I enjoy playing with my kids, but it's not something I'm going to pull out on table. Even for a gateway weight, it's a little bit lighter than what I'm personally looking for. So I do like Chronicles of Avel, and it will be joining the shelves along with Catacombs of Karak, along with Core Quest, as other games I will happily play with my children when they want that dungeon crawler adventure, but it's not one I'm going to pull out outside of them. To me, this is a 3.5 out of 5. I enjoy it, I like it, but you really just have to know the target audience of where it's fit and who it's who it's a fit for when you play it. Speaking of other game recommendations, or as far as other game recommendations go, I mentioned them already, but Catacombs of Karak and Core Quest are going to be the 2 games I'd recommend that if you like those, you might like this, and vice versa. Those are also both good dungeon crawler experiences, and all 3 of them play very differently. All 3 games, Chronicles of Avel, Catacombs of Karak, and Core Quest, all play very differently as far as the types of dungeon crawler experiences they give, but they are all engaging to play, well, with kids who want to play dungeon crawlers. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Hope you found this helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.